Hi everyone, just getting 𝗲𝗵 on so we can kick off. Hold on just a moment. Shouldn't be a moment, just getting 𝗲𝗵 to join. A few shows. 𝗲𝗵,
Hello.
how are you? How you going?
How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
I'm fine, and you?
Good. Going well, thank you.
Good. Okay. A little bit dark here, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah. The end of summer.
Can you hear me well?
I can.
Oh, so yeah, what's up? What's new there?
What's new? As we were thinking about what to talk about this week, we came up with another car-themed show, rental cars.
Rental cars, exactly. So today we will talk about rental cars. Rental car, it's sometimes, let's say, an odyssey, right? I mean, it's not, I mean, it looks like it's something simple, but sometimes it could be a little bit complicated, especially when it's coming about the insurance and this and what is covered, etc., you know, or the way that you can get the car before you arrive, blah, blah, blah. But you have a lot of experience about that. So tell me something about it. I want to rent a car tomorrow if I go to New York. Your suggestions?
My suggestions from having done this many times, as you said, and basically having fucked it up many times as well, just learning the best lessons, always book in advance, right? Most times rental car companies, they won't charge you in advance. They'll ask you to put a credit card in, but you'll only pay once you actually get there. So hold your position, make sure you have a car available, especially in a place like New York where these things can change very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. As you said, insurance is a big issue. It's a big issue in the US, especially because, and I'm sure we'll do like a specific Instagram live on insurance, but there's a lot of variables here. There's personal injury. There's how many people will be covered, vehicle. There's people's bodily injury. There's all kinds of things that are built into and limits that are included within the insurance. And oftentimes, if you have a personal car, your personal car insurance may actually cover a rental car as well. It's very dependent on the policy. So you may not even need insurance.
Never heard about that. Never.
Yeah.
At least not here.
That's from my experience, and I've rented cars in many countries, it's a very American thing, but it can save you a bundle. You just have to make sure that you have the correct coverage.
Okay. So actually, let's talk about the very beginning. So what do you need to rent a car? It is a difference between, for example, if your license is a new license or the driver's license, if it's an older. There are differences with that could affect the price or the conditions, or if you are too young, if you are too old, or what about that?
Yeah, usually it's an age-based thing in the US. I think it's under 25-year-olds. From my experience, irrespective of how long they've had their license, under 25-year-olds will pay more just because they're considered to be a higher risk, right? And that's the key thing about insurance pricing. It's all about risk. The higher the risk, the more it costs you, because they're more likely they'll have to pay out.
Yeah, same with insurance, right?
And if you have let's say you're going out of state in the United States, Generally, it's a bit easier if you have a United States driver's license, generally speaking. It fits the system here. You'll have an address and a zip code, and it's something that people are familiar with. If it's an international driver's license from another country, it makes things a little bit more difficult, but not impossible. So I think when you're going to rent a car, you sort of, there's a couple of things you think about. Well, where are you going, right? If you're going to, say, Denver, Colorado, what kind of car is going to suit your needs there? Do you need something that's all-wheel drive? Do you need something that's a convertible? Check out a few different companies, book in advance, make sure you have your insurance card, your driver's license, all your papers with you. And print out, if you make a reservation online, print it out. Because the last thing you want is when you get there, they say, hey, the price is different, and that way you have proof.
Yeah, right. So let's say that if you are coming from, it doesn't matter, that could be if inside of the United States or outside, which are your recommendations to, before, because I heard there are people, that said, okay, I will rent a car. I'm not worried about it. I will rent the car when I'm arriving, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes it's much better to get it before, right? Just in case of.
Yeah, definitely. Because, let's say you're going to somewhere like Texas and there just happens to be a concert on that weekend that you don't know about. If you haven't rented a car in advance, you're not going to get a car, and you don't want to leave that to chance. So ideally make a reservation. You either pay a deposit or don't, but at least you have something reserved. And there's one other big thing that I've found in the US as well. If you reserve ahead of time, or even if you have like a membership with that company, like a gold membership or a preferred customer, you can usually cut the queue and get ahead a little bit. Because I've waited for 2 hours in rental car counters to pick up a rental car. And when you've just flown from another city, another state, another country, and you're exhausted, the last thing you want to be doing is standing in a line for 2 hours, talking to people that really don't want to talk to, So book in advance, again, is the key message, I think.
Okay. So based on your experience, in general, let's say that we will not talk about the rental car companies, but your experience is fine. I mean, it's positive feedback.
Yeah, it is pretty positive. I think it's like anything in life, right? Like if you walk up to the counter and you start behaving like an asshole, you're probably going to get the same response back, right? So it's like a Life Streamliner principle. Don't be a prick. And generally,
exactly. Don't be a prick.
People will be good. As to one company over another, I don't think there's a clear-cut answer to that. I think it's just depends on the location, depends on the car, depends on who's working at the time. And I guess one other thing to keep in mind is the cheapest deal isn't always the best, right? So rental car companies have...
The cheapest.
Yeah, it's not always the best because rental car companies have overheads. So if they store their cars at the airport, they might pay more to store them there, and therefore they're going to pass that cost on. If they store the cars off-site somewhere, a few kilometers or a few miles from the airport, it'll be cheaper to store those cars. So a lot of rental car companies, what they do is they tell you when you land, you call this phone number. You call the phone number and they will send like a shuttle, like a van or something out to pick you up and take you out there, right? So that can be good and bad because, again, when you land after, say, a 10-hour flight, you don't want to be waiting for someone to come and pick you up in a shuttle. They might be doing something else. You might be, you don't want to waste that time, really.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Always a good idea to check if it's an on-airport rental car service or if it's like off-airport and remote sort of thing. The other thing is you'll generally pay more if you rent a car from an airport. And it's like anything. It's convenient. If you rent a car from like a city or a suburb, it may be cheaper to catch an Uber from the airport out to that place and pick your rental car up.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, here it's something similar, and but the people just, they're not paying attention about that. And it's just few details that if you pay attention, maybe you can get even an upgrade sometimes, right?
Oh,
because there are different kind of offers, and sometimes an offer is not, a special offer. Sometimes it's really a special offer, but you need to read the small, the small condition. I mean, the fine print. So yeah, I mean, completely agree about that. So what about? I mean, I know that in the States, it's all about the gas. Usually, it's petrol. I mean, it's not diesel, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Usually.
Yeah.
So here, for example, you usually, if you are going, I mean, to use a car to do a kind of trip or round trip or whatever, you use you rent a diesel, right? Because it consumes less gas than the other one. So in the States, it's not a problem, right? I mean.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because it's more expensive. It's not expensive. I mean, the diesel in comparison with the other one.
So diesel, I think here, diesel might actually be a little more expensive per gallon as they measure it here. I know back home in New Zealand, diesel is a lot cheaper than petrol, but that's because they charge diesel vehicles like a road user tax based on how much distance they drive. And the rationale is like, a lot of trucks drive on the road, they damage the road, so they should bear the burden of fixing the road. And they're all diesel. So that's how they sort of shift the burden. In the US, I think it's all at the pump, and therefore on a per liter or per gallon basis, diesel is more expensive. Diesel's not a big thing here. And I know, like not for regular cars, not for passenger cars. I know in Europe, diesel's a big thing. I know manual transmissions are still a big thing in a lot of Europe as well. That's not the case here at all.
Yeah,
It is like what you said, if, being nice to someone, being polite, making an effort, taking an interest, it goes a long way. And, a person at the rental car counter, just be a good person to them. Not because you have an upgrade, but because they have a tough job too. And they're probably dealing with people, irate customers all the time. Oftentimes, you can ask them for an upgrade, or if they don't have a vehicle in the class. So the rental cars are based on, size, small, medium, compact, whatever. The bigger they are, the more you pay. Oftentimes, if they don't have what you reserved in stock, they usually have to give you a free upgrade, right?
Yes.
Be nice about it, right? You never know what will happen. Worst case scenario, you make someone's day a little better.
Give a tip sometime, which is fine.
Yeah, like you can give a tip. Usually it's the service people who bring the car around or meet you, but do something nice. And be aware of everything that's in the agreement. Sometimes what will happen is you get the car full of petrol. When you return it, you're meant to return it full of petrol.
Right.
Sometimes rental car companies give you an option to say, look, you can pay, $60 now, and you just bring the car back empty. And some people are like, oh, that's awesome, right? It's convenient. I don't have to fill the car up before I return it. But you don't always use all the gas that's in the car. You might use half a tank, or you might have part of a tank left. And basically, you're getting charged for a full tank. So the rental car company is making money from you that way as well. So just be aware of these things.
Yeah, you're right. And also, I mean, you once you told me something about which gas station to use. If it's closer to the airport, right? If I remember well.
That's correct.
Or not?
Yeah, no, definitely. The principle here is you pay for convenience. If you don't want to fill your car up, you can pay an amount up front. They'll take care of it for you. If you leave it to the last minute to fill your car up, the closer you get to the airport, the more expensive gas will be. Don't take my word for it. Next time you're going to the airport, just look at the prices. You'll see it go up significantly. So a little planning can go a long way. If you are 10 or 15 kilometers or miles from the airport and you fill it up there, fill it right to the top. It's still going to be full when you get to the airport. Save yourself some money.
So, what are the most common pitfalls, when it's coming to renting cars?
So the most common pitfalls are usually, especially in the US, they don't include taxes in the quote, right? So they'll have, so they'll have a tax. It might be a sales tax. It might be an airport tax. It might be a passenger rental car tax, whatever. But the key thing is the dollar number that's given when you reserve it may not be the dollar number you pay at the counter. They'll have optional insurance. You might be able to rent a GPS. Again, a little planning goes a long way. Bring your phone, bring a phone holder, bring a car charger.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes they'll offer you add-ons like, do you want roadside assist, AAA? Sometimes it's not included. Be like, just be aware. Each time you do it, you'll learn it a little more. And I think the other thing I was going to mention was, it's just something that comes with practice, right? Like the more you do it, the more familiar you'll get with it. Be aware of what's covered.
Makes sense.
And I think you said like sort of key points to note. Like usually in the rental car, it will tell you what kind of gasoline it runs off, right? Most of them over here will run off like 89 octane, 91 octane, which is the cheapest of the unleaded gas.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go to a petrol station here, you'll get an ethanol blend, E10, it's called. Now, most new cars can take that. Some cars may not, but be 100% sure, because the last thing you want to do is pump in some gas that's not compatible, damage the car, and you get held accountable for it.
Okay, so it's like a tip, right?
Yeah, just be.
This is a tip for just to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I like the tip about the phone holder, the cell phone holder.
Yeah.
Because that's usually very, very useful. And I don't know. I mean, sometimes there are few regulations, traffic regulations, that it says that you need to use a specific holder, or sometimes you need to use the GPS from the car. You can't use your mobile, etc., etc. Is there a problem in the States, or you can use in general any, let's say, regulated phone holder, etc.? I mean, you can use your phone. It's not a problem.
I don't know if it's an issue in the States, like at a federal level. Each individual state will have their own rules. Most states will advocate for using hands-free, especially if you're taking calls. It never hurts to have, like I always pack a cell phone holder. Sometimes I pack two, just in case. And it's one of those things that it'll save you a lot of money, because when you rent a GPS unit from the rental car company, they'll charge you like $11, $12, $15 a day. If you're there for 10 days, it's $150 for like nothing, really,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so if you have that, same with car chargers. Check it out. Next time you're at a rental car counter, you'll usually see like a plastic container or something, and it'll say, travel charges for iPhone or Samsung, and it'll be $10, $15, $20. And it's a $2 item. Bring your own one with you. A little planning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what about if you are traveling with kids?
Yeah, so that's actually a good one. When you're traveling with kids, usually most states, most countries will require you, depending on the age, to have like a child restraint seat. Rental car companies have them. Again, they're available. They're expensive. You don't know what the quality will be like. You don't know if it's, with COVID and stuff, you don't know if it's going to be sanitized or hygienic. If you can, to the greatest extent possible, take your own, right? Like, save yourself some money. You probably have one in your car at home anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And with pets, what about pets? Did you hear something about pets? Because usually the people are traveling with a dog, for example.
Yeah.
And the dog is not into the box when it's in the car.
Yeah. In the US, it's very strange. I've seen people bring pets into restaurants, bars, at the airport. They're usually in cages and things like that, but it's very strange. If you have a pet carrier, if you have some kind of cover or something, pets get alarmed by loud noises, lots of people. Cover it up so that at least they're not being traumatized by the journey. It's a good thing for your pet, and it's a good thing for everybody else as well, right? And I think there was one other thing I was going to mention with the GPS thing. Most rental car companies will deliberately disable the satellite navigation or GPS that comes in the car from the factory.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Now, I'm pretty sure it's done as a way to say, hey, look, you have to pay to get one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it everywhere, but I've noticed that a lot of modern, you wouldn't get a modern car now without that. So
yeah. In the past, remember that there was an optional if you want AC or not.
right. Yeah. Same with electric windows. I was actually talking to someone the other day, and I was like, you want to confuse a teenager today? Show them like a wind-up window handle. They wouldn't know how to get out of the car. Probably, so,
yeah, the same with the phone, with the disc, right?
Exactly, yeah. So those are my tips. A bit of preparation, where to fuel up, book it in advance, get the right car, any safety equipment you need, bring it with you. And also like be prepared for the conditions. If you're going to be driving around mountains, snow, make sure you have snow chains in the car. Make sure it has snow tires. Check the car, and if it's not up to spec, make sure you tell them at the time.
Yeah. Any other last suggestion about this before we finish our
rental
topic
cars,
today?
They can be great. If sometimes people, like, let's say you're in New York and you want to go to, say, Philadelphia. There'll be rental cars companies who have cars in Philadelphia. If you rent it from there and you do a return trip, it's usually cheaper. Some people want to go from Philadelphia to New York and then get on a flight somewhere else. You'll pay a little more for that, right? Because it's inconvenient.
Yes.
They have to bring the car back. There can be deals for the people who are going from New York to Philadelphia, because in a way, they're helping the company relocate the car back to its home base. So you can score deals like that if you, again, just do a bit of planning and think in advance.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so more or less, I think we have it clear, the people too. It's not so complicated, but it's good just to see, the let's say the most important, that's to make a checklist, and I think it's easy, before you travel, I think 99% of the time it's possible to book in advance. I'm not saying that sometimes you have a problem or you are, taking a flight last minute and you need to book a rental car or just sign the contract just when you arrive, or just take what is available there. Sometimes could be cheaper, sometimes could be expensive. So makes sense. It's not a big deal. But I think I have a last question. What about the taxes? It is the same tax that it's applied in the whole country, or it's different tax at the end, sales tax, whatever, any tax that they can add to your final price? It's different from state to state.
Yes,
to state. Sorry.
Excuse me. There's usually what I've seen is 3 layers of tax. So you might pay an FAA tax, which is a Federal Aviation Authority tax, if you're renting a car from the airport. That's going to be at a federal countrywide level. On top of that, you'll have some states will have higher or lower taxes. It might be a sales tax. It might be a goods and services tax. There may be a vehicle tax as well. And the third thing is sometimes cities or even like precincts, like little areas within the city, if they know a lot of people are coming in and out of the airport and they can tax it a little bit, you'll see that as well. Just kind of be prepared, I would say, like add on 15, maybe 20% to the price that's quoted, just in case. It shouldn't be that high, but it's better to overestimate and be pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Also, I just had one. There's one last thing. There are sort of a lot of credit cards that give you rewards points and things. You can accumulate them and use them for rental cars or flights or whatever. Sometimes you get preferential deals, insurance thrown in, whatever. Always check out what the credit card company you bank with. Check out their offers. You might be surprised what you get.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's pretty clear. If the people has any question or any doubt, whatever, they can send us a DM or contact you on livestreamliner.com directly.
Yep.
So you will be there for them. At least the first question free. The next one we will see.
Hopefully it helps people and they have some safe travels and saves them some money along the way. So.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much. I wish you a very, very nice week. We will announce a few new things this week. We will not say anything for now, but yeah, definitely this week we'll announce a few things that people will love. I'm sure about that. So nice week. Have a good night there.
Likewise. All right. Take care.
Good
See you
night.
next week. Yes.
Peace.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye.
week. Ciao,
Thank you,
ciao.
everyone.
Bye.